but they still have some of these opportunities. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
So I was one of the people who grew up with a very anxious mother who didn't let us do a lot of things. So I think that has harmed me and my sister in that we don't have as good of a risk analysis. So how do we develop that risk analysis as adults so we don't put that on kids?
That is such a good question. Now I'm trying to think of what are my own opinions versus like what have I read about this research. Developing our own, I guess, tolerance for risk. I would say it goes back to experiences. And our brains are actually quite malleable. I mean, there's it gets harder to learn and rewire our brains as we get older, but it's pretty much always still possible. And I learned that from another professor, Dr. Alan Fogel, who's studied infant development for a long time. And it gets a little trickier and it gets a little harder, it takes a little longer, but it's still possible. And so from the research that we've seen with children where they can have these experiences and learn from them and then incorporate that information and then learn some more, I would say as adults, we probably need to do some of those baby steps too. And just a little bit at a time, incorporate that information, repeat, rinse and repeat. Yeah. And then as far as not projecting those on other children, you know, children are so smart that we could say to them, like, I'm feeling nervous about this, but how do you feel about that? And they can start to learn. It's such an important social skill for them to learn to delineate themselves from other people. And that I have my own desires, needs, wants, and feelings, and so do you. And then there's a million different ones. And so I love that in our society, it's very normalized now that we can talk about our feelings and we can be open about that, which, like, you know, the generations past weren't so much good at that. And so we can say to them, like, this makes me feel a little nervous, but how do you feel about it? How would you navigate that? How does that make sense to you? And then maybe I can provide a little advice for that too, based on my experiences. Yeah. Has anyone else in here had the experience of practicing stretching themselves with risk? Do you have any advice? Go ahead.
I didn't necessarily grow up in a household that didn't allow me to take risks, but me, myself, my personality, for some reason, I would be very timid and scared of things like that. Like, I really wanted to ride roller coasters, but I wouldn't do it. I was terrified. And I think for me, it was just like finding those little growing edges and doing them. And then now I've over time gotten more and more comfortable. And a big one for me is like slow to the ground slacklining. I don't know that way. It's like a little, it feels risky, really risky when you're on it, but it's not that risky actually.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
I think also just embracing that you don't have to do it fast.
Yeah.
You can slow down. And that helps me a lot. I have a toddler who's very, very brave and very energetic. And so with him, I also have moments where I'm like, ah, but have to realize, like, okay, like, just help him realize, like, put your foot here, or do this, or you can just make sure they try to slow it down. And that goes the same for me. When I go hiking, I'm a very slow hiker because I'm very nervous about, I slip all the time. But I know it doesn't make me not go. I just recognize and I'm totally okay with being really slow. And so I think that's one thing that helps me with risky play.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Part of it for me and my husband with our own children is recognizing our children have like better physical capabilities than we do. Like, and like, even when they were little, like toddlers can hang from stuff for a really long time, like way longer than I can hang from that. And so something that I might be afraid of or feel like I don't have the physical capability to do for like their size and their strength, they can be quite competent at it. And so just remembering that like little things can be strong and they can do a lot of things that
They're flexible.
I can't do, yeah, that they really are competent in ways that I am not competent at some things. I'm just trying to reemphasize that to myself, that it might not be risky for them, but it might be for me trying to do whatever they're doing.
So I'm terrified of heights and pretty much always have been, and I have two girls that are like mountain goats and have no fear of heights, which they get from their dad, which is awesome. But what I did is we would go to high places and I would just go as far as I could, and I was open with my girls, but I was nervous. And they just learned to be patient with me, like Brianna was saying, just kind of go slow. My oldest daughter actually just went skydiving, which, yeah, a few more gray hairs from that one, but I was really happy that my fear didn't go on to them. But something that was kind of cool was we went to the Grand Canyon, this past spring, which is really hard for me personally, because it's, you know, obviously very high and very open, and I don't like those kinds of places. And so I was just kind of taking slow steps to get as close to the railing as I could. And what was really cool is my older daughter like kind of came over and like kind of held on to my arm and just kind of, gonna get emotional, walked with me and helped me with that. So they can learn to help you too. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Thank you. I think it's probably time for us to end. I think.
Well, food from Barbacoas should be here pretty soon. We were planning on it getting here a little bit before noon. And then I realized I didn't go over the agenda very well at the beginning of this whole thing. So like, I could do that really quick, but lunch was 12 to 1. At 1 o'clock, perspectives on Nature Play panel. And then at 2 o'clock, is our last speaker, Russ, Volmert, and then there is a chance to go get some interpretation from our education staff of our 3 different nature play sites out on grounds at 3 o'clock. So we do have a little bit of time until food gets here, and just ran out the door, so I suspect that's where they were headed. And so we can do questions for a bit longer, or we can just hang out and chat till food gets here.
I think we should all chat.
Yeah, are there any other questions? Awesome. Oh, okay, go ahead.
So for sites that have leadership that's like super focused on risk management and liability, and like as educators, sure, we understand like the benefits of all of this and we're really advocating for it. But for those leadership, it can be really hard to be like, here's all this research, like we should do this, let's do it.
Yeah.
This might not be like a question you can't answer now, but like, do you have resources if we were to come be like tell us about risk management, like how do I get leadership to
I actually have a really good book to share with you about that. But yeah, so our Wonderbloom Center is a licensed center through child care licensing. And I have 2 teachers here from the school, and we have a lot of rules we have to follow. And so what we do is we follow all the rules, and then we're like, what's not in the rules? That will give us flexibility. Like sticks, there's nothing about stick play. We can have as many and whatever sizes we want of sticks, you know? So it's that kind of thing that I try to like say, like, well, what's not included in the rules? What can I do to kind of push it out there? And it's funny because when the licensor comes to inspect our facility, she'll be like, never seen that before. It must be okay because it's not in the rules. And I'll be like, yes. So yeah, I can share that.
Cool. All right, we'll just do hang out and chat until food gets here. Thanks.
Yeah. If you have markers or extra post-its, you can bring them.